TIFU by poisoning myself and almost drowning. Last summer I wanted to do some endurance swimming. I took myself out to black sandy beach and challenged myself to swim across the lake. The distance was about half of a mile. I had done this a few times. I felt confident. On my way out I drank 5-hour energy drink, did some breathing exercises, and got in the water. It was a nice summer day and the lake had grown thick with green algae. The greens lined the shore fairly thick, but once I swam out a few yards I didn't have to contend with the bramble anymore. I was able to make my way steadily to the opposite shore. I decided I had plenty of time to explore. I started swimming south along the far bank, periodically turning onto my back to rest and enjoy the sunshine. Just under half a mile along I found a break in the shore and wondered if a river or stream flowed into the lake from there. The water there was stagnant, so there was no inlet, but I saw 2 deer coming up to the shoreline. I wanted to see how close I could get and I had my eyes trained on them. I was cutting across the cove toward the deer when I started to smell the scent of bitter almond. Odd. I tore my gaze from the deer and looked down at the water. The hue of the algae was no longer a mossy green but rather a teal blue. I was right in the middle of it. I started to get a bad feeling. My gut told me to go back to my truck. The swim back was longer. I had traveled a ways south. I pushed myself harder, intent on getting back. Some kayakers checked on me, but I insisted I was fine. A little over halfway back a wave of exhaustion hit. That concerned me a bit. But I was determined to reach the shore. I eventually neared the shore. My legs caught in the undergrowth. I struggled to stay upright. My right calf started to cramp hard. I fought, kicking past the brambles with just one leg. I felt for the lake bed. I needed to touch bottom. To let my leg rest. No such luck. I pressed on. My other leg cramped. I was weirdly unconcerned. A moment later my foot touched bottom. I felt a surge of relief. It hurt to swim. It hurt to stand too, but I wouldn't drown doing it. Tiny alarm bells rang in my mind. Something was wrong. I felt great, ecstatic, on top of the world. It didn't make sense to feel that way. I was in pain. I'd almost died. Why did I feel so good? I painfully made my way to the water's edge. I crawled onto the shore. I heard voices on the other side of the brush. They asked if I was okay. I tuned them out. I stretched my calves. I heard the voices say, "Yeah. She's fine." The ground beneath me shifted. I looked up at a tree. It was shifting too. It reminded me of a mushroom trip. I had not taken any drugs except caffeine. I should have been worried. I wasn't. I felt great. The cramping subsided. I made my way up to my truck. The world spun. I climbed in my truck bed to wait it out. I was reminded that I should be concerned. I should go to the hospital. I decided to go home instead. I still felt pretty good. I started to sweat on the highway. My window was down. My clothes were soaked. Why am I sweating? I made it home. I got in the shower. I kept turning the heat up. I was sweating. I was so cold. I stepped out of the shower and looked into the mirror. My lips and my tongue were blue. What the hell? I pulled up Google. I checked symptoms but came up blank. I remembered the blue algae. I looked it up. I found a warning. The algae was poisonous. Cyanide. I had cyanide-induced hypoxia. Oh, shit. I got back in my truck. I went to Panda Express. What? I was hungry. I looked up the antidote to cyanide poisoning. I still felt pretty good. I was aware on some level 1 should be at the hospital. My urge to satiate my hunger was stronger. The antidote to cyanide poisoning was cyanobalamin, aka vitamin B12. 5-hour energy has B12. The article also mentioned oxygen therapy. Well, I had that down. I breathed quite heavily during my swim. I picked up another 5-hour. Downed it. Went to bed. And passed out. When I woke up I told my husband about my experience. He got upset. He asked me why I didn't tell him to take me to the hospital. I wondered the same thing. I looked up symptoms of hypoxia again. One of the side effects of hypoxia is that you can be fully aware that you are dying but you just don't care. I'm lucky to still be alive. TLDR. I swam through poison algae and almost died. Edit. Now that I have sobered from the experience, I reread information on blue-green algae and I definitely had a distorted understanding of what was actually happening to me from a scientific point of view. I still feel that my story stands subjectively speaking because I was telling it from my experience in an altered mental state. I also had a checkup and my doctor says I'm okay, if perhaps a bit stupid by the look on his face. Like and subscribe for more.